Welcome to the Millionaire Car Salesman Podcast, the #1 resource for automotive sales professionals, managers, and owners to learn how to make money, accumulate wealth, and to all out ball out in the auto industry. And now your hosts, Sean V. Bradley and L.A. Williams. Hey, what's going on, everyone? This is L.A. Williams, and I am here on the Millionaire Car Salesman Podcast. And man, I am super duper excited about the guest that I have on today, man, because this guy and I, we have such a strong relationship. I mean, he taught me so much in the industry from the very beginning. I mean, just talk about live streaming. He's the very first person I ever live streamed with. This guy is extremely special. So without further ado, let me introduce my main man, Mr. Louie Herron. What's happening, Louie?
What's up, big time? Man, you got me up on a Sunday morning before church, man, to do this podcast, man. So we talk about millionaires and then we'll talk about Jesus, right?
Amen. That's what we got to do. You know what I'm saying? Because listen, without the Lord, we ain't no millionaire, ain't no nothing. People can't even think about any kind of success. We're just damned. You know what I'm saying?
Man.
So
no, that's the truth, man. There's no doubt about it, man. My whole story has divine intervention, man. There's some of the good fortune and blessings I've had in my life, bro. It doesn't come strictly off your own efforts, although you got to give your own efforts, but God's got to be in the play. That's the foundation, no doubt.
Right, absolutely. So, man, I know your story. Your story is awesome. We know it's still unfolding, but let us know how it all began. How did your story begin?
Man, what you want to do? You want to take it all the way back from the youth, man, from the nasty childhood?
Yeah, because listen, people think
battered and bruised. You're going to turn this into a therapist session,
listen,
bro.
man, I'm telling you, people think that successful people come from, they had born with a silver spoon in their mouth and all that old craziness. So just tell the people, a little bit about the beginning.
Man, here's the deal. I think stories are so important to success. I think really and truly, the basis of every one of us as we're listening and growing and trying to get better, we have a tendency to take the times that are trials and testings, and we don't realize that's honestly God's teachings, man. When I came up as a young kid, man, it all started. So I'm from Miami, Florida, and die hard love the Miami Dolphins. By the way, LA, love them. As I put in the book, I'd love to buy them one day. That's how much I love them. But growing up in Miami was a fun time for me. But my biological father, he was Puerto Rican. He left when I was like 2. I got adopted when I was 5. So being raised by my father, not my biological father, because I consider the guy who adopted me my dad. He was from Jasper, Alabama, and so my mother was a Delicio. She's Italian from Youngstown, Ohio. Her family's straight from the boat. And so here I am living Italian mother. I got a country old redneck daddy who, by the way, was a good dude in so many ways, but he also had some issues. He was highly volatile, highly aggressive. He wasn't one of those dads that grew me with positive words and affirmations. And unfortunately, it was quite the opposite. So I really secluded into the shell as I was growing up. He was physical with everybody. My mom, unfortunately, was strung out on cocaine. She was blown out of her mind most of my youth, or drunk. And look, there's a lot of folks that listen that may have stories like that. But my childhood was really just it was volatile, I'd say the least. When I was 18, I left. I moved out of the house, and I've never been home since. I have visited on occasion, but I've never resided back in Florida. So for my story, as an 18-year-old kid, I played football at Liberty University, and I remember being in Lynchburg when I was driving up the Blue Ridge Mountains, and I was talking to my mom on the phone, and she said, "I can't talk to you right now. Your dad's around now," and I couldn't understand, and I just finally told her, I said, "You know what?" I said, "We're done talking, and that's it." And so basically, from the age of 18, I did not speak to my parents until I saw them at my wedding. In 1999. I mean, it was a long gap. So I'm an 18-year-old kid till 25 trying to figure this thing out. And anyways, long story short, man, so I play ball at Liberty, and I transferred to West Georgia, and I dropped out of college. I played my 4 years of football, which unfortunately for me, I tried to make it the league. That's all I could think about was the NFL. Was not good enough to play in the NFL. Wasn't going to happen, although you couldn't tell me that at the time. And so here I am. I played my 4 years, man. I'm out of money. I don't have any more scholarship money, no aid, nothing to support me. And I still had 2 years left of school. So I'm like, man, so I'm going to try to figure out how I'm going to stay in school. but I'm loading trucks in Villa Rica, Georgia on a graveyard shift Friday, Saturday, Sunday, 6 p.m. to 6 a.m. as my boys and friends were partying. I'm working, trying to make some money.
Mm-hmm.
And one of my guys leaves and goes to Chili's. He goes to Chili's to wait tables. And after a month he was there, he's like, "Hey, bro, you need to come wait tables." And I'm like, "Dude, I'm not talking in front of people. I'm not comfortable. And I need something steady." Long story short, he gets me to go over there and show you how divine intervention works. I would have never, ever thought about the car business. It wasn't even on my radar. My father was a roofer. Okay, so like I didn't grow up in the car business. I didn't grow up with car people. I mean, I was just this young guy that had no idea about the car business. And I'm waiting tables, and this guy by the name of Carlos Perez walks into Chili's, and I wait on him. Well, he happened to be from Miami, and he was a Metro-Dade cop, and we started talking. And so every time he would come in, he'd ask for me. Well, about the third time that he came in, he asked me, "Have you ever thought about getting in the car business?" And I'm like, "No, man, I would never sell cars." So after him wearing on me for about 3 months, I took the plunge, man. I got in the car business. And another quick story, so I'll move on from some of the questions you may have, but another quick story that's funny about how God is involved in everything you do.
Mm-hmm.
This guy wore me out, LA, to come talk to him. I come talk to him. And when I come into the dealership, he says, "You got to meet with the GM." I meet with the GM, and I've told you this before, the story, but I met with the GM for like 20 minutes. And basically, after everything was all said and done, he said, "Listen, we normally don't hire one, you're a young kid, you're 20 years old. We don't really hire onesie-twosie salesmen. We'd like to get a group, but I'll keep your application. And if we need you, I'll call you." And I'm thinking to myself, that's what? Like, I thought I was going to get the job.
Right.
I'm about to walk out and never enter into the car industry, LA. And as he stands up, behind him was a Jacksonville State football helmet. Now, Jacksonville State's not a big-time program, so you wouldn't know it unless you played them. Well, when I was at Liberty, we played Jacksonville State.
Mm-hmm.
So, and we didn't talk football. We were there. We didn't say much about football. We were talking about, where I worked and all this other stuff. And as he stood up, I said, "Hey, man, you played football at Jacksonville State?" He said, "Yeah." I said, "Yeah, I played football at Liberty University." And we started talking football for the next 10 minutes. And by the time we were done, he said, "You know what, kid?" He said, "Bring a shirt and tie, man. I'm going to start you tomorrow."
Wow.
LA, I'm telling you, had I walked out of that dealership, I would have never thought about the car business again, because I was terrified to even try to come for an interview to begin with.
Mm-hmm.
And that was it, man. Started selling cars at a Honda dealership in Douglasville, Georgia.
Look at God. Look at God, man. That's what I'm talking about.
I'm telling you.
Beautiful stuff. All right, so cool. So you're young, like you said, you're 20 years old. You get started in the industry. How did you begin to sell cars? Like, how many cars were you selling? How did that whole thing work?
Man, I'll tell you, back in '95, I guess it's not a ton different than today, although we got technology. There wasn't much training. I mean, it was pretty much you learn on the fly. They sent me to MAADA dealer class, which was in the Metro Atlanta Dealer Association. It was a 5-day class, and that was the only training I got. And pretty much I went through that class, and like everything else, I just started to consume the content, man. I just started to consume the content, started to get better, started to get memorized, practice, drill, rehearse, practice. I mean, my goal, when I realized people were selling cars and making $70,000, $80,000, $100,000 a year at that store, mm-hmm. I said to myself, man, because honestly, when I got in the business, LA, if I would have just made 40 grand, I was good. I mean, I was golden. You know what I'm saying? I was loading trucks and I was waiting tables part time. So you talking, I was scraping together $2,500 a month gross income. I'm like, man, if I make 3-4 grand, that's 48,000, 50 grand a year, 20-year-old kid. I'm rocking. Well, as the good Lord would have it, man, I got into business and I started rolling from day one. But I was that kid that literally memorized. I remember scripts that I went through with service customers. I remember cold call scripts out of phone books, man. I mean, honestly, looking back, this is probably unethical as hell. But I mean, as a salesperson, I remember I would go through the phone book and I look at businesses and I would find State Farm and I would call up State Farm and I would say, "Hey, man, this is Louie over here at the Honda dealership. Is John there?" No, there ain't no John. There ain't no John here. No, seriously, John left me a message. I think he was looking for a car. I was just returning his phone call. No, we don't have no John here. So, are you kidding me? There's no John. Well, what are you driving? And there you go. I would make 10 of those calls every day looking for somebody that wasn't at a business that I already knew, just to have the conversation of what that person's driving.
Wow.
And bro, I'm telling you, I'd make 10 of those calls a day, and I'd have 2-3 people on the hook, man. I'd make 50 calls a week. I'd be 200 calls a month, and I'd end up, and these are just little things that I would do over and over to get me to a point where I was selling in a store that was doing about 100 cars a month. I was consistently about 26, 25 cars a month, hit over 40 many times. And I was just a hustler, man. I was a grinder. I was a hustler, man. And I just, they hated it because I was the lot lizard. I'm always in front of an up. I'm always in front of somebody. I was always active. And in the car business, there's so many lazy people, man. It's so simple, man, just to be aggressive, stay on point, clear the toxicity of the dealership, all the murmuring and talking, to stay to yourself and do business, man. If you can do that and stay focused, you can excel. You can excel at a great level. As I started getting better, because I had a lot of reps, I was on the phone a lot and I was in front of people a lot. So consequently, I'm getting reps. All those reps, the mother of skills, repetition. My closing skills started to grow. And now I'm the young kid that the sales desk is calling to the desk because they didn't want to get off the desk to TO a deal. They come in and say, "Hey, Louie, go talk to this customer. Go lock this customer down. Give me a commitment. So that's how I got into management so fast. I didn't sell cars for about 2 years, year and 8 months. And,
Wow.
I got into management because my level of activity was so great. My commitment to the game, the mastering of the craft. I mean, it was just so obvious because there's so many lazy people in the car business. I would stick out like a sore thumb in LA. If anyone's listening right now, all I would tell you is the effort. The talent's important. Man, you got to have skills, abilities, and talents. But the effort, the constant, consistent, committed effort is what got me to raise and go to the next level. And then I do the same thing. When I became a sales manager, I was relentless about knowing every program. I was relentless about knowing leadership development. I was relentless. And then, man, I was about 22 years old, and I started telling people, man, I want to buy a car dealership. And they were like, come on, man. And
shutting the dreams down, laughing at your dreams. If people not laughing at them, they're probably not big enough.
No, I'm telling you. And so I would always remember when people would tell me, how are you going to do that? And I had no answer. They're like, how are you going to do that? I mean, you know how many millions it takes? I said, I had no answer. But in my mind, I would always know Proverbs 3:5 says, lean not on your own understanding, acknowledge God in all your ways. He'll direct the path. Man, my relationship with God was tight. I have gone up and down with my relationship with the Lord, man, over the years of my life. I think we've all had moments of bad choices or irresponsibilities, but I'm going to tell you the foundation in my heart, man. I believe in all my heart. I believe it to the core that if it wasn't for God, I would have never, ever been able to acquire a partnership, buy one dealership, buy a second dealership, all of this before the age of 40 years old. It would have never happened. Everybody's got talent. There's a lot of folks that got talent. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But they don't get the outcome. And I look at my good fortune and my blessing. Yes, a lot of effort, a lot of work ethic, but man, I'm telling you, it was God's blessing for sure.
That's beautiful stuff, man. And it's so crazy because with so many people, now we understand how God wants us to be abundant, right? But so many people don't mix the subject. So talk a little bit about that. He got you in the automotive industry. Now you're here. Now you're a kid. You're making this money. How much money did you make as a salesperson before you even got into management? Because there's people that say, oh, you can't make money in the automotive industry.
Yeah, no, you can make money. Again, selling cars for a year and a half, I probably made about $140,000 in a year and a half. My first year, I remember, I can tell you specifically, my first year, I made $91,000 my first year as a 20-year-old kid. I remember that specifically. And honestly, I was green, man. I was green, and I was flying on a lot of energy and ignorance.
Not skilled yet.
I wasn't skilled up. I think had I stayed in the car business as a salesperson, I think honestly, with the way I was with customers and the willingness to do the calendars, the newsletters, sending them a birthday card, I was that guy. I was the guy that would read something out of a book. This is what you need to do, and I would actually execute it. I would do it. I mean, I was just
did it. Like I was just that. How crazy is that? Well, you follow instructions. Who does
I know. That? Well, again, I think the hunger for me at that time was to make money. I mean, it was like a drug. You know how it is in the car business. You're talking a young kid making $25,000 a year, and all of a sudden, I made $16,000 in 1 month. A month in July 1997. I remember specifically. And I'm like, I'm thinking to myself at that time, man, who does that? Who makes this kind of money? Like, so. I probably in the year and a half I sold cars, I probably made about $150,000.
Nice.
But I think I could have. But I guess what I'm saying, to your point, as a salesperson, a solid salesperson that works on his craft, that puts in the time, that retains his customers in today's day and age with social media and the connectivity that we have, man, a salesperson should make $200,000 to $250,000 a year if he's hustling and he's putting in the time and doing what he should be doing. That's my opinion.
Wow, that's beautiful stuff. All right, so how do you make money? Let's say I'm a brand new salesperson. I'm getting ready to get in the industry, or I've been here for some time and I'm not really doing it. I maybe be selling 9-10 cars a month. How do you make money as a salesperson in the automotive industry?
Okay, so here's the thing that I think a lot of the art of salespeople, we all lose it. Louie's lost it. LA's lost it. When you get in the grind and you get accustomed to the customers, you start to feel like every customer's price. And I will say there's an element of price as it relates to the phone and as it relates to the internet. However, I think when the consumer's in front of you, okay, customers, email us on a car. They come into the dealership. They end up buying something else 60% of the time. Somebody calls you on the phone. You get them down there, look at the vehicle. It's not spec'd out like they thought. It's not as nice as they thought. You got something else. You move them to another unit. Number one, I think we've got to stay off in our mindset about this price thing. And I think the big thing is, if a salesperson has a good desk, I think when we get a pencil and we look at that pencil and we are uncomfortable of the pencil, just know, if you want to make money in the car business, if you're uncomfortable with seeing a pencil of $700 a month and $2,800 down because your customer said they had no money down and they want to be at $300 a month, that is a you issue. You don't even know if it's a customer issue yet. You assume it is. But understand, if you've sold yourself, if you've actually sold the automobile, okay, you should have extreme pride in presenting those figures to start the deal. You asked the question, Ellie, how does a salesman make money? He makes money by making gross profit. You make gross profit by adding value to the consumer two ways. Number one, the consumer has value in the product you're offering them. And number two, you are a problem solver. In the needs assessment, in the qualification, in the conversation of building rapport and understanding the needs, if you do not ask the quality questions where you have the ability to solve their problem. They are there for a reason. They hit a deer. The car is totaled. The daughter is just turning 16. They have another child. They need to upgrade their car. We just bought a farm. There is a problem that has to be solved, that you as the salesperson are competing with Ford and Ram and Chevy and Honda and Toyota. This is your wheelhouse. And for a salesperson to make money in the car business, he needs volume and gross profit. In other words, you need a lot of freaking activity every day to get somebody in front of you, number one. And number two, you have to have the skills and be skilled up in the mindset of, number one, believing in yourself, believing that you deserve to make the money. I mean, why would you be uncomfortable when it's your job to feed your family? You deserve to make the profit. You can't make the profit. You can't make the margin. You can't make the commission if you don't ask for the money. And you don't have the right as a sales professional to ask if you have not solved their problems and can refer back to conversations of value that you've presented in the car. That's how I think a salesperson makes a lot of money.
Wow, you are dropping some nuggets, man. Golden nuggets. Sean always wants me to drop some sound effects. So you're going to be the first person that's going to get sound effects all throughout what you just said, because that's money right there. That's beautiful.
Well, again, and what's funny about it, LA, it's no rocket science. It's not something a salesperson, a manager's never preach and teach. And I'm going to tell you this: if you're listening to the podcast right now, if you think Louie was flawless doing this when he's a sales guy, Hey, I wasn't flawless. This is again, I said it just a few minutes ago, skill sets and mindsets. Skill sets and mindset. Your mindset can change on the daily. You got stuff going on at home. You got marital issues, man. You got something happen with your child. You ain't made no money in a week. A deal blew out of F&I. Your biggest gross for the month got cut back by the bank. That's your mindset. And so, again, if you talk about, really getting the foundation of what Louie needs to do, LA needs to do, and every salesperson, every dealer, every manager, it starts at 5 a.m. Most of y'all know and heard of Glenn Lundy, Rise and Grind. 5 a.m. Man, are you getting up writing your gratitude list, man? Are you hitting the gym, man? Are you hitting the snooze button, man? I mean, because really, this fight, we all fight. But if you don't get up with the intention every day to build for your family, to produce, you got to have power to produce. You get power by getting in the gym. You get power to have production. Those are the things that are the underlying layers that build momentum. So when you get into the workplace, your mindset's right. You should be skilled up, and you're working on your skills on the daily. Now you got to have the activity and action to get customers in front of you, get people in front of you. Now you're a problem solver. All right. That's all you are. You're a problem solver. Every business owner, every salesperson, all we do is solve problems. We present products and services to people that need what we have. And it's our job to sell them on why what we have is better than the competition. And that is done through your value and your charisma, your charm, your enthusiasm, your energy, where people just want to love you and do business with you.
Yeah, beautiful stuff, man. So here's the thing, because you're really laying it out there, and I just think you have a way with words. So even if they've heard it before, I don't think that they heard it that way. So that's beautiful stuff. Thanks so much for that.
No, I appreciate it, babe.
Let's talk about this. How do you make money? Because you said you grew and you became a manager. So how do you make money as a manager in the automotive industry? Is it anything different? What are some of the skill sets you need?
Well, from a manager perspective, you got to realize your income is now predicated on 10 or 12, 15 guys, right? So now your dominant influence on individuality is somewhat stripped. You can't control every deal because I can't be with every demo. I can't be on every phone call. So now, from a manager perspective, the greatest way to make money indirectly, we're not talking about penciling deals and buying cars and working the banks, and we can get to that. But the biggest way management can make money is accountability. Number one, you got to lay down a vision and a path for the team that, number one, they subscribe to, they live by, they understand, they get it, and most importantly, they feel like they'll be rewarded for this path. When you as a manager can lay that out and take ownership of where we're going, we put in the process, the pieces of the puzzle. The process is where people break down. All of us have breaking down as managers, because when you have policies, that's another word for policing, and nobody likes to police anything, and nobody wants to be policed. So when you talk about now, instead of the salesman selling the customer, the manager has to sell the salesperson. There's got to be a belief in the family culture, in what we want to do to get the job done. There are 4 or 5 things that are non-negotiable that we already agreed to as a team based on our vision. Are we on the same page? Yes, we are. Perfect. That's all I'm policing, man. Let's get these 4 or 5 things knocked out. Let's gain agreement to these 4 or 5 things so we can move the ball down the field and get in the end zone. Because if we do it together, we can get there. If we don't do it together, we can't. So again, from a manager, how you really sustain and make money is you got to get your salespeople making money. The salespeople have to make a paycheck. If the sales guys don't make a paycheck, you're going to have serious problems of making money yourself. And again, that has to do with the dealer, the pay plan, because look, in the world we live with a lot of publics, packs are extremely high. Commissions are small, and so the sales team, it's a revolving door. They keep, because they're making no money. That's not sustainable. That's not going to build an organization that's going to sustain itself. And I think dealerships get away with that with more volume, because with more volume, the sales guy still has a chance to make money with volume bonuses, and there's so much activity they can retain some people. But as a whole, a manager has to lead his team and set the path and the vision and have accountability in some process. Now, as it relates to management, they've got to know most of the managers are working deals from the desk. F&I managers are not what they used to be. F&I managers used to structure deals. Now the sales manager structure deals in probably 85-90% of most car dealerships. So therefore, if they're going to make money, they have got to know the programs, every program, secondary programs, every single program available. When you see a really sharp desk manager, that guy can look at a 468 Beacon with 5 lines of credit and 1 repo being one of the lines, making $2,700 a month with a $500 hold check, and he knows where to go with that deal immediately. If management doesn't know where to place a deal immediately, now all of a sudden you're shotgunning deals everywhere. Again, you're not going to maximize the deal. So a manager's got to know the program. So I think managers can contribute in making themselves a lot of money if they can learn to really lead their sales team, take ownership of their department. If it's a new car manager or a used car manager, You got to think about something. If you are a new car manager, that means you are the manager of everything of new cars. Everything, inventory, inbound inventory, current inventory on the ground, old age inventory, model selection, day supply, marketing, merchandising, placing, websites, banners, lead control, everything with new cars, you are responsible for it. And so if a new car manager or a used car manager will take complete ownership of every piece of the department, the general sales manager, the general manager's life becomes super easy. A lot of times the new car manager thinks he's a desk manager. He don't even think he's a sales manager. I mean, there's different levels of manager. You have a desk manager, you have a sales manager, you have a new car manager, a stud, a real guy knows that if you're a new car manager, you are a desk manager and a sales manager and a new car manager. It means you're responsible for new cars. You're responsible to desk and make gross profit, and you're responsible to be a sales manager. You manage the team. You are a leader of people. There are so many components that a manager can get sharp on. I mean, can work on his craft and hone in his skills to lead and excite and motivate people and be smart enough to track inventory, gross profit, day supply. What do we need? How do we get the tough units? Dealer trading cars out that we don't need, bringing cars in that we do need, building relationships with other dealers, finding ways to stock the inventory, seeing 90 days down the road, LA, what programs are coming. Do we need journeys? Do we need, 1500s? I mean, there's so many pieces and components that managers can get better at, can think about doing that. Again, the car industry by fault, there's a lot of lazy people that don't have big vision, big mindset. Some managers are good with being a manager. Yeah. I'm good. This is where I've landed. But again, if you want to grow to the next level, you got to put in the work.
So it's so crazy because you're talking about this stuff very, very educated. I mean, you got a real educated mindset. You must have really been blessed in that the dealership maybe that you worked with. Did they send you to a nice program to get you learning all of this good stuff? How did that work?
LA, you know the path to success is not a straight line. No, brother, I didn't get nothing, man. I'm gonna tell you what happened. In 2002, I was working for AutoNation, a Honda dealership, and I requested to go to NADA Dealer Academy. They turned me down. I was a general sales manager at the time. And so I went to my general manager at the time and I said, Bill, will you do me a favor? I said, I need to know my craft and I know I'm going to be a GM one day. I know I'm going to own a store one day. I said, would you let me be out of the store for 6 weeks out of the year and I'll pay for NADA. And if the numbers in the store drop any way, shape or form, I'll bow out of the class and pick it back up at a later date. He said, okay, I'll do that for you. So this general manager, who I love to this day, allowed me to leave January, March, May, July, September, and November every other month. For 1 week, I was in Tyson, Virginia at NADA Dealer Academy. I paid myself to go through it. Cost me $16,000. I paid every penny of it, all my expenses, to be able to learn the business, to learn new cars, used cars, financial management, service, parts. I mean, all the pieces, because I knew when I became a GM, I'm not failing, bro. There's no way. I knew when I became a dealer and had a shot, I'm not failing. And so, no, nobody sent me anywhere. I had to pay for it. And I was glad to do it. I was grateful to this day for Bill to let me do that. And if it wasn't for him, again, if it wasn't for God allowing that door to open, I wouldn't have this knowledge, LA. I wouldn't know it. I wouldn't know it.
That's beautiful stuff, man. So anytime that there's training, and we actually had someone at the Internet Sales 20 group where her dealer didn't support her going, and she just said, you know what, I'm just going to pay for it myself. So that was beautiful. So, I kind of baited you into that question. Yeah. I knew the story.
Well, look, let me just say this too, so everybody's on the same page. If you're listening to this podcast, okay, and you've heard the statement before, if you think training's expensive, try not training and see how expensive that is. Let me just say one thing to you. If there is one thing that I can attest my success, or I say success. I mean, there's a lot of people more successful than me, but I'm saying my good fortune, man. I'm just going to tell you straight up. If there's one thing you can do, man, if you relentlessly pursue content, if you relentlessly pursue application of content and move your ass in the direction of working on yourself, if you work on yourself harder than you do your job becomes super easy. It's all about you, the individual. And when I say this, LA, when I say working on yourself relentless, I'm talking about your self-awareness. I'm talking about not only car skills. I'm talking about your freaking mommy and daddy wounds. I'm talking about go see a freaking counselor to understand why you have an anger issue. I'm talking about go find out why you're too much of a people pleaser. I'm talking about go find out why you can't set boundaries in your life and people walk all over you. I'm talking about every level of self. If you want to be the best person you can be in the best industry you can be in and grow yourself, training, more training and more freaking training. I promise you, content consumption, content application. I'm telling you, you will grow off the charts and be such a desirable, marketable person. There's not enough people that do that consistently. And I'm telling you, you will be a highly sought after, talented human being.
Awesome. Good stuff. So some of this stuff I want you to talk about from the perspective of an owner, because I heard you say that, there's a lot of lazy people in the dealership. So outside of that, what do you say? Making excuses, complaining. What do you say are the most common mistakes of the people in the automotive industry?
I think number one, if a dealership is going through a tough time or not as successful as they could be, I think the level of momentum and company culture, company pride, team pride, I think that's a huge issue. We all worked in dealerships before where everybody thinks the dealership's jacked up. Mm-hmm. Now, I may be selling cars, but if you ask individuals, oh, this place is jacked up, man. Oh, it's all screwed up, man. People, they don't care about you, blah, blah, blah. And so, to me, that's indicative of company pride, company culture, people working with synergy. Goes back to the leadership of what's the vision. See, if people, number one, if people are making money, let me back up. If people have personal growth and they're getting personal fulfillment, the dealership's going to freaking rock. Okay. People need to make money and they need to feel like they're growing and they need to feel fulfilled. And how they gain that is by the leadership in the company, the general manager, the general sales manager, the sales managers, parts manager, service manager, F&I managers, those people, the comptroller, those people need to be so freaking tight in understanding where are we going, why are we going there, and when are we going to get there? Because those people are responsible to filter, like spiderweb that out into the dealership and create synergy and enthusiasm to such a degree where people like coming to work. They walk in the door, the popcorn's popping, the music's playing, people are shaking their head. Man, they're ready to roll. They're making money. They're feeding their family. They've got a nice schedule. They've got some quality time off. This is when things start to really roll and start to really produce positive performance in a dealership. And then when you get that momentum as a dealer, as a general manager, man, you stay the hell away. You let it roll. You support. Man, you push and support and help and assist and watch and look and be a spoke on the wheel. I mean, that's what you work for as a dealer, as a general manager, a leader of people. You're looking for that spark that ignites that flame. Now, all of a sudden, you got a fire. Now, all you got to do is keep throwing wood in there, baby. Just keep throwing another log. Just throw another log, man. Just keep the fire burning. So I think that lacks in a lot of stores, which permeates a lot of negativity.
Yes.
I think the toxicity of negativity begets more laziness. When people are negative, they don't want to work. They're lethargic. They don't believe in the company. They don't believe in the organization. This is the steamroll effect that happens after the vision has not been set forth and the management team's not together. The car dealership is probably one of the most complex organizations in the country. People don't realize a leader of a car dealership is really running 5 businesses under one roof. I mean, you've got you got sales, you've got parts, you've got service, you've got internet, you've got financial accounting. You've got so many moving parts combined with so many moving personalities. I mean, technicians and salespeople are completely different. Man, the accounting office and the parts personnel, come on, man. And then you've got BDRs and BDCs and internet managers trying to communicate with salespeople, and then you've got management, strong-willed sales managers trying to lead people. But you've got so much dynamic that the leader in the company, the head guy, is so crucial. It can make it challenging, but it could also make it the most beautiful symphony that's rocking and rolling you've ever seen. And there's a lot of car stores that do a phenomenal job that are just sitting back on cruise control right now, man. They're making money hand over fist, rolling. And that's a beautiful thing.
I totally agree. And maybe I'm just slow, right? But how in the world do you get that going? What's the first step? Because if I'm, the leader of the dealership and I'm like, I see this place, across the country killing it, and I want that, and I'm positive I look, where do I start? What is the first thing I should do?
Well, let me say it like this. The first thing that needs to happen is there's got to be a solid, infectious, motivated, inspiring leader at the top that has a high level of acumen and understanding and knows how to get the job done as a general manager. That's number one. And that person's job is to create himself 3 and 4 times over. Once at the sales desk, once in the service drive, once in F&I. To create this sense of momentum we're talking about, it really stems from leadership from each person. And here's what people have to realize. Even if you're a salesperson, I always say this. Now, catch this when I tell you this. There is an I in team.
Oh.
Now, LA, I know you're going to fight me on this because we always heard there's no I in team. But listen to me. There is an I in team. All the I's make the whole. We're not talking about there is an ego in team. We're not talking about ego. We're talking about, look at Bill Belichick. Look at the New England Patriots. And what does he always scream to the guys? Do your job.
Mm-hmm.
If every individual does their job, from the receptionist, from the accounting office, to the salesperson, to the manager, do your job. See, because if my sales manager does his job, then I don't have to do his job for him. Because if I have to go help him in his job, who's going to do Louie's job? Right? So that will steamroll. So again, you think about it, when that receptionist picks up the phone, she's the leader. She represents the whole dealership. Why? The customer calls in, has got a tag and title issue. She calls in looking for the accounting office. If this person doesn't have the best attitude to represent the company the best, and she transfers the call, and the lady in the tag office has a bad attitude because she's fighting with the state, she's been fighting 3 weeks, and the customer on the phone has an attitude with her, that lady gets off the phone, and now the lady says, man, those people up there at Louie Herron Toyota, man, those guys, they're awful. Well, how can she say they're awful? Well, the representation came from one person. It was the lady in accounting. She represented the whole dealership at that time. All the I's in the team make the whole. There is an I in team. It is you. It is you. You are a leader. You don't have to have a title to be a leader. You have seen many salespeople lead sales forces that ain't a manager. Why is he leading them? He's leading them with negativity. He's got the whole team torqued up. He's got them all spun out of control. He's leading. He has the ability to lead right where he's at without having a title as manager. So if a dealership can recognize there is an I in team and the I is you, and there are several I's on this team that make the whole, we're not talking about ego. We're not talking about ego. We're talking about everybody doing their freaking job every day with passion and enthusiasm. Again, without buy-in, without a vision, without collaboration with everybody, it's not going to happen. And so you got to go back to the leader. And to think about this for a second, you think about the GM or the owners. He's at the top of the food chain, supposedly. But I look at it different. Let's flip it upside down. The leader is at the bottom. He's the foundation. Without a strong foundation, that house ain't gonna stay, right? So you gotta flip that paradigm upside down. Yeah, he's in control. He's the head guy, but he's at the bottom if he's doing it right. He's the foundation of the whole organization.
That is beautiful stuff. So basically, when I hear you say it all starts with you, I would say that person maybe needs to get some training, some personal development, that type of stuff. Is that what I hear you saying?
Everybody, baby. Everybody needs personal development. Everybody needs training. But yeah, your head guy, your head guy he's the lead guy. Look, here's the deal, man. When you're around somebody that's positive and infectious, how do you feel, LA?
I feel great. Shoot.
Man, you feel, I'm serious. Like, you walk in the dealership and you're ready to rock and roll. Every day you got a smile on your face, man. And yeah, I may say, how many appointments we got today? Hey, are the appointments confirmed? Hey, what's going on? Who's got the phone calls? How many calls did we get yesterday? How many leads came in yesterday? What are we doing with those? Have we followed up with those yet? How many ups did we have this week? What's going on with our beatback percentage? How many blah, 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 blah. All these car questions. You can ask that as a leader. At the same time, are you inspiring your people on a daily basis? But when they see you coming, they're excited. There was a book I read that was golly, I can't think of the title. It's called "It's Your Ship," and they're talking about this captain that was running this naval ship, and they were retiring him. And basically, was he retiring to cheers or was he retiring to tears? And as a leader, you want to be retired. You want to be revered as somebody that has, that has tears, man. They're upset. They're hurt. They don't want you to go. They love you, man. They need you. You're leading the place. If they're cheering you off, like, man, get this bitch out of here, well, you got a problem.
Absolutely. And it's so crazy because I've been a part of plenty of organizations where you can be asking those questions and the people can be really annoyed with you, or when you're asking those questions, they can feel like you're really looking to build them up and make them better, you know?
Look, as a human being, all of us have a container, right? We have a container that holds in whatever we're containing. You take a glass that holds so much water. You take a bucket, it can hold a little more water. You take a trash can, it can hold more water. We've got to raise our containers to be able to grow and expand and hold more. So, I mean, again, we go back to the training, the personal development, the deep level personal development. Everybody listening to the podcast, whether you're a dealer or GM or whether you're a salesperson or whomever, I mean, again, to be relentlessly pursuing the best version of yourself. Your 70-year-old version of you is going to look at you one day and say, bro, you freaking crushed it, man. Give me a hug. I love you. I'm excited. You did a great job. Or he's going to look at you and be like, man, in 2013, you laid down on me, man. At 44 years old, you got divorced. You derailed like crazy. Man, you got off the path and you went, I don't know where the hell you went. And now look where you're at. There was so much potential. Look what I had laid before you. I had so much for you, man. So everybody's got to look at themselves. And I'm talking to me too, man. I could go on and tell you, from when I got divorced and decisions I've made that sucked, that weren't smart, that weren't good, man. But all of us at some point have got to recognize and become self-aware of where we're at, why we're there, take the personal responsibility and get your ass moving to the outcome you want. And if you don't have an outcome set before you, guess what? You ain't moving. If you don't know the target, if I'm shooting skeet and it ain't firing no clay out, I'm just holding the gun. I don't have nothing to shoot. If you don't have a target, you can't go anywhere. So anyways, I just, the whole car business to me is a people business, man. A people business is about life change. Life change is about training and self-awareness. Self-awareness and training is about putting in the effort and wanting to get better. If you're a father out there, okay, what kind of dad are you if you go to the car dealership every day and you're freaking lazy? What kind of dad are you? Like, if you're a mother and you're in the car industry and you ain't making your phone calls and you ain't doing what you're supposed to do, but you're responsible to feed your family, what kind of mom are you? I mean, those are the things that I challenge myself. And I've had days where it's like I look at myself and I say, Louie, what kind of father are you, man? You're lazy today. What are you doing? Now, most people, they may not know I'm thinking that sometimes, but I know what I bring. I know the energy I bring. And there are days where I may not be feeling it. And I have to challenge myself like, bro, get yourself together. You got LJ, you got Mackenzie. This is your family. These are your children. You going to make them proud? What are you doing today? So again, it's just about training. Like you said, I think it's critical. And I think success is imminent if you put forth the effort, you train yourself, you get the skill sets and the mindsets you need, and you consistently put forward action. You're gonna do very well in this business.
Yeah, man, you're giving us, man, like I said, super duper money test. So I heard you mention a book. I normally ask people if they recommend a book. You just gave us one recommendation. You got any others?
You gonna set me up like that, bro? Yeah, man. I'll tell you what. Go to Amazon and download the book or buy the book, Driven by Fire. It's a great book. I wrote the book. That's why I say it's a great book. Driven by Fire. And here's the thing. Fire, the acronym for FIRE stands for faith, intensity, reinvention, and the E in FIRE is enthusiasm. Those are the four main points of the book. And the book basically talks about how does a 20-year-old kid become a car dealer? Like, what did I go through? And in the book, there is a lot of challenges and a lot of adversity and things that I dealt with that I have not shared on this podcast that I think is inspiring. The book is definitely an inspirational book. It's a car book, man. It's written by a car guy, an ex-athlete. It's 118 pages. It's not long. You can read it in 3 hours. But the thing about the book that I think will be challenging to everybody listening that you would appreciate is at the end of every chapter, there's a reflection of what you just read that applies to you. So then you have the opportunity to write down and or lay out before you anything that resonated with you in the prior chapter. How is it affecting you right now? Like right now. So I can guarantee when you read the book, you're going to be challenged with some questions that are going to make you feel uncomfortable. And there lies the opportunity for growth. So, I mean, change is inevitable, but growth is optional. You have the option. And I think you'll really enjoy the book. Again, it's called Driven by Fire. You can go to Amazon, iTunes, you can go to Barnes and Noble. Driven by Fire, just look up, or you can just put in Louie Herron, it should pop up. But Driven by Fire is the name of the book, and I think you'll really enjoy it.
Awesome. Yeah, and what I like about the book is it's not just a story. It's like a workbook. So if there's some actual action steps that I get to create personally to be more successful. So I love it. All right, cool. So here's the thing. I know you're not like a specialist or anything like that, but you are a person who, made money, you accumulated money, and you were able to do some things with it because you were an owner, you've bought and sold multiple dealerships. Can you talk about how, just talk about that process? How did that get done? And then some of the things that you can do, some of the smarter moves that you can make with your money versus some of the silly moves that some people make when they make a lot of money.
Okay, the silliest move you can make with your money is get divorced. Don't do that. Don't do that. I tell you, I loved a woman passionately. 23 years together, loved her like crazy, and we got divorced. And to this day, as I look at modifications, modifying some things, my attorney's like, "This is the most ridiculous thing anyone would ever agree to." But so she got a large chunk, which, you know what, she was my partner. It is what it is. But in the end, that took a ton of my resources. That'll put a dent in you. Do not get divorced. Stay married. But not only for the money. I will tell you this. Marriage is God's gift, and I would convince anybody to stay fighting as long and as hard as you can, especially with their family. Don't get divorced. That's never a good thing. It's the worst thing that I think anybody can go through. So that's
Kanye style. Holla, we want prenup.
Oh man, I'm telling you, man. But you know what? I think, as it relates to money, I think you want to make money, you want to save money, then you want to try to find a way to invest money. You want money to come back to you. I think the biggest thing is to try to find ways to get money to come back to you without spending hours for money. I mean, the hardest way to make a living is to trade hours for dollars. That's the hardest way. So the goal to make money is not so much to have the Lamborghini or the jet plane or buy the Miami Dolphins or that. I mean, that's fine if you have a goal like that, and that's cool because it pushes and drives you. But ultimately, I think money. I think you make more money when you give more money, number one. So I would tell everybody, if you're not tithing to your church organization or something you're passionate about, I think that's a problem. I think the more you give, the more you get. It'll always come back. It'll always come back, number one. But I think the key is you want to be able to find ways to get residual income of some kind. Okay, so there's again with social media, there's so many things you can build. But I think real estate's a great play. I think real estate is a great play. But again, if it takes away from your focus in the car business and making money, if you're trying to grow a little bit of money and you're not making any, that's a problem. The first thing you need to do is amass a little bit of money. So you got to get a little money. You maximize your little 401ks and maximize your IRAs and that kind of thing as you grow and develop, and then you can shift dollars and move it elsewhere. But, ultimately, for me, how I was able to grow my money was really not through real estate or any other source. It was through buying another dealership. So here's what I look at. The greatest stock you'll ever have is you. You are the greatest stock. It's not the mutual fund. The greatest stock you'll ever have, if you're talented and passionate and you've been successful or you're working towards success, the greatest stock you'll ever have is inside of you. The seed of greatness is within you. You are impregnated with something that could be so big when you start to buy in and believe in yourself. So I would take any money and invest it into yourself first. I would invest in programs. I would invest in trainings. I would get myself so dialed in where I'm able to produce more revenue, because it doesn't really matter about the expenses. It matters about revenue. It matters about dollars coming in. Do you have money coming in? Your problem about money is you're not making enough. It's not that your expenses are too high. You need to make more money. If you make more money, you can give more money, you can save more money, you can reinvest more money. If somebody has a goal to create something for themselves, okay, I would find every avenue I could to head in that direction and store that money to where you're able to use it to make that happen. I think ultimately the biggest thing with money is most salespeople don't think they can make $500,000-$600,000. Don't think they can save $2 million. They don't, in their mind. They may want to, but in their mind, if they're making $80,000 a year or $70,000 a year or $102,000, they're having a hard time wrapping their head around that. So again, don't worry about the how. My strategy or my statement to everybody listening is don't worry about the how. The how will show itself up. What you need to worry about is the what. What is it that you want? What is it you want? Write that down. Write that down. Write that down. Write it down every day. Okay. Attach a why to it. Why would I want this? What's the value to me for this? Is it all about self? Is it about family? Is it about something down the road? Is it about my legacy? You have to attach something that's greater than yourself. And let me just tell you this, LA. Let me give you an example. If somebody says to you, let's do a 5-mile run tomorrow. And you're like, no, man, I don't feel like it. I don't feel like it. Well, again, your feelings are going to fool you. You're not going to run the 5-mile run because you don't feel like it. But if somebody comes to you the next day and go, look, man, and it's one of your best friends and his sister has cancer and they're going to do a 5-mile run next Saturday. They're going to try to raise $100,000 for his sister. And he comes to you and says, hey, man, I need to do a 5-mile run. I need you to, be in this thing with me for my sister. She's got cancer. It's stage 4. Man, would you do it for me? You're like, yeah, dog, no problem.
Absolutely.
Well, here, we just shifted the why. See, we were going to run a 5-mile run, and we're like, nah, man, I don't feel like it. But then all of a sudden, we got a why attached to it, and all of a sudden, not only do we feel like it, man, we feel like doing it twice if we had to, because now we got a why. Does that make sense?
Absolutely, man. You changing my life right now.
No, stop it, bro. You stop it, bro. See, it's like, look, in life, it's funny. Like I heard a story, man, where a guy was talking about, man, they did a 5-mile run, 10-mile run. At the end of the run, they were giving out bagels and they were giving out apples and stuff of this nature, like for the runners or whatever. And the one guy said to his buddy, he said, hey, man, let's go get a bagel. And he's like, man, that line's too long. I don't want a bagel like that bad or whatever. And the guy's like, man, I want a bagel. And the guy's like, man, just look at all these people, man. And what's funny about it is some people see what they want. Other people see the obstacle in front of them. See, one guy saw the bagel. The other guy saw the line.
Yes.
And so many times I think we got to remember, and all of us can get in that mindset where we have fear and apprehension and worry. And you may not be in a good spot right now, but man, you can't see the obstacle. You got to see the objective. You got to see the outcome, and then start working your way towards that with belief and conviction and knowing that God will open a door. He'll open a door, but you got to move your feet, right? The Bible says God will guide your steps, but you got to move those feet.
Mm-hmm.
You can't stand still.
Yeah.
So.
Man, I say it all the time. Listen, you either worrying about the price or you worrying about the prize. Like, which one are you focused on, the price or the prize?
I like that.
So that's beautiful stuff, man. Listen, enough said. I don't even think that we need to go. I know normally we go into some closing statements and all that, but man, I think what needs to be said has been said. I think what needs to be heard, if you listen to this podcast and you're not ready to, just do whatever you need to do, I don't know. You got to check your pulse. That's what I can tell you. So,
hey,
man,
hey, LA, is this one of your better podcasts, bro? You need to blow this one up, bro.
Listen, absolutely, man. We going in on this joint. So, man, listen, I'm super excited about it. I can't wait to upload it. I'm putting it on my YouTube channel. It's going all over iTunes, wherever you can download podcasts. So, man, without further ado, man, this has been L.A. Williams with my main man, Louie Herron. Thanks so much for listening, everybody. This is the Millionaire Car Salesman Podcast.
Take care, LA. Thank you, man.
Peace.
Ladies and gentlemen, if you like it, you love it, you want more of it, then don't wait for the next money show. Just go to bradleyondemand.com and take your career to the next level.